My husband, 40-year-old male, and I, 32-year-old female, have been married for 10 years. We are both in the military and he is eligible for retirement. I'm not yet. Today, he brought up me signing a prenup, so in case we divorce, I will not have the right to 50% of his military retirement. I feel like I've been gutted on the inside, and here is why. Background. When I married my husband, he had just gone through a divorce, and his ex took everything of value: new car, appliances, best furniture, etc. He was deep in credit card debt, and in order to protect his future retirement, he was paying her over $100,000 in spousal support over the next few years. I didn't care, and was working hard with him to get us out of debt and to pay off what he owed to his ex. I had no debt of my own. We lived very frugally for years, while his spoiled ex was sporting a luxury car and lifestyle paid in part by our earnings. Out of the 10 years we've been married, my husband was cheating on me for about 8. It started with webcam models online, and then he ended up cheating in real life on his work trips with some of those models he found online. Around 10 women in real life and dozens of online affairs. He ended up spending thousands of dollars on this hobby of his. I found out one day 7 years ago by checking the time on his phone because it was the closest one. Then the WhatsApp notification popped up, and I was introduced to one of the dozens of chats with so-called models on his phone. My world fell apart. The excuse was that he needed more, he was addicted to sexting, etc., etc. When I asked him to stop, he threatened divorce. I was raised in a very traditional household, and I couldn't bear the shame that would come from my family if I divorced, so I backed down. I was trying to make peace with it, but I felt inadequate and like a failure as a woman. Over the years, he didn't stop, but the years of me crying over every affair made him slow down a lot in his endeavors. Over the years, my career went uphill, and I'm finally feeling more confident and less scared of his divorce threats. Thanks to years of therapy and some medication, I feel better and don't have intrusive, self-deprecating thoughts anymore. Fast forward to today, when my husband dropped the bombshell. We started talking about a mutual friend who has been living with her boyfriend for 10 years. Another mutual friend suggested that she should marry her significant other to protect her future and the sacrifices she made in order to ensure his very successful career. I also said that I support that idea 100%, as my friend is dear to me, and I am afraid to see her left with nothing if he decides to leave. After my friends had left, my husband, who had heard the conversation, said that he has been worried for years about losing 50% of his pension in case we decide to divorce. I had no intentions of divorcing my husband, but I was hurt by the comment, so I fired back that this is my insurance in case he decides to bring an 18-year-old webcam model into the house since he got bored of me or whatever. And trust me, I'm 30, but all of his affair partners are barely legal in their pictures, with their real age being no more than 22. He got upset with me and went on a tangent about how women have these crazy laws protecting them and how men are being ripped off in their marriages. He also brought up his ex, who took a lot from him while he got nothing out of the 7-year relationship, and now she's married again to a successful guy. On and on. I felt gutted on the inside. I was not crying anymore. I think I cried all of my tears out over the years. I just left for a few hours to give myself some space to think. Aside from cheating and occasional petty fights like that, he is everything I want in a man. He is reliable and smart and helps me with everything I do, including our house renovation. I still love him, and I'm scared to be alone and go back to dating. I don't know what to do. Am I the idiot for immediately shutting down the prenup conversation? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. At this point, it would be a post-nuptial agreement, but don't sign anything. See a lawyer. I'm so sorry you are in this situation. Obviously, the legal document is the least of your worries here. I hope it works out for you. Comment 2. So you would rather risk getting a sexually transmitted disease, STD, from a child toucher, including herpes or virus, than be single? His ex was laughing at you, honey, and so is he. Take everything and go. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post and a lot has happened. First off, thank you for all the support and advice on my previous post. It really means a lot to me. So after the prenup conversation, things were tense between my husband and me for a few days. We barely spoke, and I could feel the resentment building up inside me. I couldn't stop thinking about all the years I stood by him, helping him pay off his debts and supporting him through his infidelity. And now he wants to protect his assets in case we divorce? It felt like a slap in the face. A couple of days later, I decided to confront him about it. I told him how hurt I was by his suggestion and how it made me feel like he didn't value our marriage. He tried to defend himself, saying that he was just being practical and that he didn't want to end up like his friend who lost everything in his divorce. But I couldn't help but feel like there was more to it than that. As we talked, I started to realize that my husband's fear of losing his retirement wasn't just about the money. It was about control. He had always been the one in charge of our finances, and I had always trusted him to make the right decisions. But now, with the possibility of a prenup, he was afraid of losing that control. I also realized that his fear was rooted in his past. His ex-wife had taken everything from him and left him with nothing. He had worked so hard to rebuild his life, and now he was afraid of losing it all again. I could see the pain and fear in his eyes as he talked about it. We ended up having a long, emotional conversation about our marriage and our future. I told him how much I loved him and how committed I was to making our marriage work. But I also made it clear that I wouldn't sign a prenup. I had sacrificed too much and worked too hard to be treated like a potential liability. In the end, we agreed to table the prenup discussion for now and focus on rebuilding our trust and communication. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was necessary. Over the next few days, I started to notice small changes in my husband's behavior. He was more attentive and affectionate towards me. He even surprised me with a romantic dinner one night. It felt like we were finally starting to heal and move forward. But then, something unexpected happened. My husband's ex-wife reached out to him out of the blue. She wanted to meet up and talk about their past. I was shocked and hurt when he told me about it. I couldn't believe that after everything we had been through, he would even consider meeting up with her. We got into a huge fight about it. I accused him of still having feelings for her, and he accused me of being jealous and insecure. It was a mess. In the end, he agreed not to meet up with her, but the damage had already been done. I started to question everything about our marriage. Had he really changed, or was he just putting on an act? Was he still in love with his ex-wife? I felt like I was losing my mind. A few days later, I found out that my husband had been hiding something from me. He had been secretly saving up money in a separate account. When I confronted him about it, he admitted that he had been planning to use the money to buy a new car. I was furious. How could he be saving up for a new car when we were supposed to be working on our marriage? It was then that I realized that my husband's fear of losing control wasn't just about the prenup. It was about his entire life. He was afraid of losing control over his finances, his possessions, and even me. And that fear was driving him to make selfish and hurtful decisions. I knew that I had to make a choice. I could either continue to live in fear and resentment, or I could take control of my own life. I decided to focus on myself and my own happiness. I started going to therapy more regularly and spending more time with friends and family. It's been a tough week, but I feel like I'm finally starting to see things clearly. I love my husband, but I also love myself. And I know that I deserve to be treated with respect and honesty. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know that I'm not going to let fear control my life anymore. I'm going to keep working on myself and my own happiness, no matter what happens. Thank you for listening and for all your support. It means the world to me. My ex's girlfriend thinks I want him back, so I set boundaries and made her get therapy for her trust issues. For background, my ex and I have been divorced for 3 years. I am happily remarried. We have consistently had a joint dinner with the kids on their birthdays, either going out to a restaurant or having a joint party. We had always agreed that the kids should not be put in the middle of our divorce and should not have to choose between us. This worked well until he got with his current girlfriend, who does not like that we had a friendly relationship. She assumes this must mean I want him back, which couldn't be further from the truth. Given that he emotionally and sexually abused me throughout our marriage, resulting in me needing much therapy for the resulting PTSD, and that therapy being a good chunk of what led me to leave him. Yesterday morning, I asked in the group chat with my ex and my kids, 25, 22, and 17, about our plans for the upcoming birthday of the middle child, My ex messaged me privately that he did not feel comfortable doing a joint celebration. I messaged him back, reminding him that we had always agreed not to put the kids in the middle of our issues and that it wouldn't be fair to them to have to choose between us. I also expressed concern that our oldest would have to pick between parents when he gets married, as he has been talking about doing soon. I reminded him that our own parents had put us through this, and we had agreed that we didn't want the same for our own kids. The older two live with him, and the younger one is in shared joint custody. I then messaged my kids, asking if they would come over for dinner and to bring the dog to visit. They said they had plans to go to church, but the dog would be alone for 5 hours, so they agreed to bring him over to hang out. They brought the dog over around 4 p.m. At 9 p.m., I asked them when they would be picking up the dog, as my husband works early and we were tired. I didn't receive an answer for an hour, so I texted the group chat, including my ex, that I had their dog, and I needed one of them to pick him up so we could go to bed. Once again, no one responded to me. I tried calling my eldest, but it was going straight to voicemail. My middle child was also not picking up, so I called my ex and his girlfriend answered the call. She pretended she couldn't hear me and hung up. I called again, and this time my ex answered. I asked him if he knew how to get a hold of the kids, and if not, what I should do with the dog. I also asked if his house was open, so I could drop the dog off and go to bed. He said, of course, I could drop the dog off at his house. Then I asked him why he let his girlfriend hang up on me. I told him it was uncalled for and incredibly rude. He said he didn't know why I had called and that she picked up because she feels I am bothering him too much. I told him that if he had bothered to read the text message, he would have known I was calling about the dog. I'm being told I'm annoying and a jerk for bothering them, both my kids and my ex. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. But you have learned a couple of things. 1. This "we are all friendly" doesn't work anymore. As far as birthdays and holidays, you will be celebrating separately, and the children will decide where to be. As for the wedding, let your son figure it out. He can invite both sets of parents and seat you apart. Or he can choose to invite just one pair or none. That's on him. 2. Keeping the dog, when they don't even bother to pick him up or answer your texts, is totally out of the question. This is the last time the dog stays with you without one of its owners. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Stop doing them favors and stop planning joint events. You are the only making yourself look like a jerk. The kids get to choose no matter what, and your ex is being the fun parent to win them over, while likely trashing the shoot out of you to your kids. Let the kids come to you if they want time with you and move on with life. Being bitchy and asking for counseling makes you look insane. They don't need counseling because they are fine living without you. You need counseling to learn how to live without them. Now, for the update. Hey there, thanks for the update. It's been a wild few days since my last post, and I've got a lot to fill you in on. So the day after the whole dog fiasco, I decided to drop the dog off at my ex's place in the morning. When I got there, his girlfriend answered the door with a scowl on her face. She snatched the dog's leash from my hand and slammed the door in my face without saying a word. I was pretty taken aback by her rudeness, but I tried not to let it get to me. Later that day, I got a call from my oldest son. He apologized for not responding to my messages the night before and explained that he and his siblings had gotten into a heated argument with their dad and his girlfriend. Apparently, the girlfriend had been bad-mouthing me to the kids, saying that I was trying to weasel my way back into their dad's life and that I was a terrible mother. My son stood up for me and called her out on her lies, which led to a big blowout. He said that he and his siblings left the house and stayed at a friend's place for the night to cool off. I was shocked and hurt to hear what the girlfriend had been saying about me. I thought we had all moved on from the divorce and were co-parenting amicably for the sake of the kids. But it seemed like she was determined to drive a wedge between me and my children. The next day, I got a text from my ex saying that he wanted to talk. We met up at a coffee shop, and he apologized for his girlfriend's behavior. He said that she had some trust issues from a previous relationship, and that she felt threatened by our co-parenting arrangement. I told him that I understood where she was coming from, but that it wasn't fair to take it out on me or the kids. He agreed and said that he would talk to her about it. But here's the thing. This wasn't the first time my ex had let his girlfriend's insecurities affect our family. A few months ago, he canceled a planned family vacation at the last minute because his girlfriend didn't want him spending time with me and the kids. And before that, he had skipped out on our youngest school play because she had a meltdown about him being in the same room as me. I realized that this pattern of behavior had been going on for a while, and I had been too focused on keeping the peace to really address it. I decided that it was time to set some boundaries and stand up for myself and my kids. So I sent my ex a long email outlining my concerns and expectations moving forward. I told him that while I respected his relationship with his girlfriend, I would not tolerate her interfering with our co-parenting arrangement or bad-mouthing me to the kids. I also said that if he continued to prioritize her feelings over the well-being of our children, I would have no choice but to take legal action to protect them. It was a tough email to write, but I knew it needed to be done. I love my kids more than anything, and I won't let anyone come between us, not even their father. A few hours later, I got a response from my ex. He said that he had read my email and that he understood where I was coming from. He apologized for letting things get so out of hand and promised to do better in the future. He also said that he had talked to his girlfriend and that she had agreed to go to therapy to work on her trust issues. I was relieved to hear that he was taking my concerns seriously, but I knew that it would take more than just words to rebuild the trust that had been broken. Only time will tell if he follows through on his promises. In the meantime, I'm focusing on being the best mom I can be to my kids. We've been spending a lot of quality time together, and I've been making an effort to really listen to them and validate their feelings. It's not always easy, but I know that they need me now more than ever. Thanks for reading, and I'll keep you all updated on how things progress. My fiancé comes home drunk and wakes our daughter after his bachelor party, so I kick him out and make him beg for a second chance. So for context, my 24-year-old self and my fiancé Randall, who is 25 years old, have been together for 4 years. We met in a garage where he currently works, and my dad also works there. When I needed my car fixed, I went to the garage and Randall fixed it instead. He proposed to me about a year ago, and we are getting married in a few weeks from now. Randall and his friends from the garage, they are jerks by the way, went out for an early bachelor party because we thought it would be more convenient than right before we get married. I had my bachelorette party on the same night. Randall came home after the party with the guys had finished and woke up our 2-year-old daughter, which instantly upset me. Don't get me wrong, I am not a boring person, and I love that he had fun. But waking up our daughter who already struggles with sleep really annoyed me. He apologized and kept it down afterwards. That was only the start of the problems. He got into bed with me and asked questions about how my party went, so I told him everything about it and how fun it was. He proceeded to ask me why I was drinking around our daughter, so I assumed he thought she was with us all night. He was too drunk to remember asking my mom himself if she could look after her while we went out. She wasn't, but she came home early because I came home early too. I was drunk, but stable enough to take care of her, and Randall knows I can handle my drink very well. This is going to sound a bit silly. He said, I'm going to turn her into a drunk when she's older because I'm breathing my alcoholic fumes around her. I admit I did giggle a bit when he said that, but I put it down to him being drunk, and he fell asleep not long after. So did I. The next morning, he let it slip to me that he had a private dance with a girl in a strip club with no shirt on. I know a lot of people go to strip clubs before they get married in the movies, but I didn't expect it to be a real-life thing because, well, if you're marrying someone, you would want to be faithful to them, right? I didn't get mad. I just asked if he enjoyed it, and he said, and I quote, "Yeah, I did, and Mark, his friend, got more girls to dance on me afterwards." I am not an angry person, so I didn't say how I truly felt towards the matter, but I basically had some of his stuff packed when he came home from work and told him to give me a week to think about things. He was confused and apologized, but I didn't think it was enough. He accused me of a lot of things the night before, more than I've already written, and it upset me, but this thing pushed me over the edge a little. The most confusing thing is, he's not like that usually, but the more he's around his friends, the more he turns into them, and his friends really are the worst people I've ever come across. Am I the idiot for sending him away? Edit, people are forgetting the fact that he insulted me. I've been saying that I'm not bothered that he went to the strip club, But you can watch and not have women dancing on you, correct? And still have a good time. Jesus, also loving how it's only the men saying I'm an AH because they have no respect for women, clearly. Not all men, of course. Some have said reasonable things in the comments, and thank you for that. Hey guys, it's Randall on Ellie's phone. Just wanted to say it's not as bad as what she makes it out to be, and I'll put my own post about it so people can see my side of things. If you haven't already in the comments. Not that I need to, but because Ellie has asked me to. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I disagree with the tradition of having half-naked girls rubbing up on your soon-to-be husband. It's degrading to women and inappropriate for men in relationships. You have the right to feel this way. Edited to add that this is a conversation that should have been had before the parties. My husband is well aware of my feelings on strippers/strip clubs. It would be a deal breaker. Comment 2. I'm not an angry person, so I didn't say how I truly felt, then kicked him out. You have too much pride in being non-confrontational. You have every right to be upset about this, and you can decide how you want to proceed. If you feel his apology is enough, move on. If not, call off the wedding. I'm sorry this happened to you. I know you must feel betrayed. Little shocking you guys didn't discuss this before, so it sounds like you both have communication issues. But it also sounds like you just really didn't think he'd do that. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks so much for all your comments and support on my last post. It's been a tense few days since then, and I've got quite the update for you. So after I sent Randall away to give myself some time to think, he ended up staying with his parents. I was still pretty upset about the whole strip club thing and the way he'd been acting, but I tried to focus on taking care of our daughter and sorting out my own feelings. The next day, Randall's mom called me up asking what was going on. I explained the situation to her, and she was actually pretty understanding. She said she'd talk to Randall and try to knock some sense into him. I appreciated that, but I wasn't sure if it would make much of a difference. Later that evening, Randall showed up at our place, looking all apologetic. He said he'd been thinking a lot about what happened and realized he'd been a real jerk. He admitted that he'd let his friends influence him too much and that he shouldn't have said those things to me or gone along with the private dance at the strip club. I could tell he was being sincere, but I was still hesitant. I mean, this wasn't the first time his friends had brought out the worst in him. I told him I needed more time to think things through. The following day, I got a call from my dad. Apparently, there'd been some kind of accident at the garage, and Randall had been injured. I rushed over to the hospital, my heart pounding the whole way. When I got there, I found out that a car had fallen off the lift while Randall was working underneath it. He'd managed to get out of the way in time, but he'd still been hit pretty hard. The doctors said he had a concussion and a broken arm, but he was lucky it wasn't worse. Seeing him lying there in the hospital bed, all banged up, really put things in perspective for me. I realized that even with all our problems, I still loved him and couldn't imagine losing him. Over the next few days, as Randall recovered, we had a lot of long talks. He opened up to me about how he'd been feeling pressure from his friends to act a certain way, even though he knew it was wrong. He said he was sorry for letting them influence him and promised to stand up to them from now on. I also shared some things I'd been holding back, like how much it hurt me when he accused me of being a bad mom for having a few drinks at my bachelorette party. We both realized we needed to communicate better and be more honest with each other. As we talked, I started to remember all the reasons why I fell in love with Randall in the first place. Like how he always goes out of his way to make me laugh when I'm having a bad day, or how he's such a great dad to our little girl. I thought back to when we first met, how he'd fixed my car and been so sweet and charming. I remembered all the little moments that had made me fall for him, like the time he surprised me with a picnic in the park, or when he stayed up all night with me when I was sick. In the end, I decided to give Randall another chance. I could see that he was truly sorry and wanted to make things right. Plus, with the wedding coming up, I didn't want to throw away everything we'd built together. It's been a few days since then, and things are starting to get back to normal. Randall's recovering well, and he's already started making changes, like telling his friends he won't tolerate their bad behavior anymore. I know we still have a lot of work to do on our relationship, but I'm hopeful that we can move past this and come out stronger on the other side. After all, nobody's perfect, and sometimes you have to go through the tough times to appreciate the good ones. Anyway, that's where things stand now. Thanks again for all your advice and support. It really means a lot to me. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.